Hi, welcome to day one. I'm glad you made it. I hope you were able to watch the welcome video and hear about printing out the worksheets and really getting involved, but you're here, so that's a good step. Let's get started. So day one is about sleep basics and goal setting. I'll go into a little bit of the science of sleep, and then we'll talk about what your goals are going to be. So one of the first things you should be thinking about when you're thinking about child sleep is your child getting enough sleep? So here you'll see the recommendations as given by the American Academy of Pediatrics as far as how much sleep a child should be getting. And you'll see that there's a big range. You also might be thinking like, oh, I've heard of low sleep needs children. Maybe my child is that. And I'll say that only 5% of kids are low sleep needs. So you get a 95% chance that your child is in fact needing these recommended hours. And so if they're not getting that, that's when we're going to be talking about the sleep debt. So sleep debt is really just when a child is consistently not getting the recommended amount of sleep. So the amount of sleep that they need to function in their like top way of functioning. So sleep debt will look like crankiness, crying, difficulty falling asleep, difficulty staying asleep, trouble with naps, short naps. So might be some of the reason that you came to this challenge. So we're definitely going to be working on eliminating sleep debt and getting some more restorative sleep. So here we're not going to go too much into all the craziness about sleep science, but this here is important about the sleep cycle. I'm sure you've heard that adults have sleep cycles where they have, light sleep and then deep sleep and REM sleep where they're dreaming. So everybody 4 months and up has this sleep cycle. So a couple things to point out here for our purposes. You'll see over here that sleep associations form right when you're going from drowsy to light sleep. That's something we'll discuss a little bit more on day 5 when we're talking about sleeping through the night. But for today, take a look here at this partial arousal. So after you go through this sleep cycle, you kind of wake up a little bit. And this is for adults, children, everybody. So nobody actually sleeps through the night, like just never wakes up. We all wake up after a sleep cycle, which could be about 45 minutes to 2 hours. But if you're a good sleeper, and most adults at this point are, you just kind of roll over and go back to sleep and you don't even remember it in the morning. But if you're a child who is still working on learning how to fall asleep independently, then you're going to have a hard time. If you need help to fall asleep at bedtime, then after the sleep cycle, when you have a partial arousal, when you kind of wake up a little bit, you might need somebody to come help you go back to sleep. So it's totally normal for everybody to be waking up, but it's the people who know how to fall back asleep that sleep through the night. And ones that still need help are when you'll see kids that are up every 45 minutes to 2 hours at night. So that's really something to think about. And at the bottom there, you'll see the circadian rhythm and sleep pressure. So these are really just the biological processes that help with sleep. The circadian rhythm is this 24-hour clock, just about 24 hours, a little bit longer actually, but that we all have. And a lot of things go along with the circadian rhythm, like our body temperature, for instance. Your body temperature drops like 2 degrees when you're sleeping at night. Oh, digestion, hormones. I'm sure everyone's heard of melatonin. That all comes along with the circadian rhythm, which follows along with the sun. We want to be awake. Our bodies want to be awake when the sun is up. Our bodies want to be sleeping when the sun is down. And then sleep pressure is a different system, but they kind of work hand in hand in some ways. Sleep pressure is good to know about for little ones especially. So without getting too crazy here, we all have a homeostatic sleep drive. So basically when you first wake up, your body starts to produce something called a chemical called adenosine. And as you stay awake, the adenosine builds up and builds up. And that's that tired feeling that you get, like when you've been up all day and you're ready to go to sleep at night. That's the adenosine building up. And so little guys, obviously, they don't have as much tolerance for it. So, younger kids have sleep pressure build up faster, and then they need to go to sleep. And this is when you'll hear people talking about wake windows and that kind of thing, which we'll talk about a little bit. But I just think it's good to know a little bit about the science of what we're doing here. And then sleep begets sleep. this is something that all sleep people say, or most sleep people, and myself included. But I remember first hearing that and being like, what does that mean? So sleep begets sleep is basically just saying that an overtired child is going to have a lot harder time falling asleep. And a child who's well rested is going to sleep better. So when you start getting longer naps, more restorative night times, you'll see that the whole thing starts to come together better. A child, I always tell people, focus in on that first nap of the day, because a child who gets a really good first nap is setting themselves up for sleep success for the rest of the day. It goes totally against kind of the old school thought of like, if you keep them up later, or if you keep them up during the day, they'll sleep more at night. Not true, because if you're putting a child down to sleep really overtired, it's a lot harder for them to fall asleep and stay asleep. And then at the bottom it says, what is an independent sleep? And why would I want that for my child? So independent sleep is just, it's what we were just talking about with that partial arousal. So independent sleep is a child who can fall asleep by themselves without the help of an adult, and who during the night, during that partial arousal time, can fall back asleep and continue on to the next sleep cycle. Some people want that for their child when they are tired and they don't have the ability to wake up and rock their child back to sleep every time they wake up after a sleep cycle. So some families can sustain that. Some families can feed to sleep, rock to sleep throughout the night. And if that's something that's working for you, keep going. But a lot of families aren't able to sustain something like that for that long, myself included. It's tough when you're up every hour at night. So that is a reason for that people want to work on independent sleep. And then so let's think about you. Like, what are your goals? Like I said in the introduction, it's hard. I don't know your family and I don't know you. I know all the sleep stuff, so I'm going to bring all like the sleep knowledge I know, but you have to really plug in what's going to work for you. So like, get really specific. Think about what your goals are. Like, pick 2 goals that you really want to work on. And as you can see here, like, I want my child to sleep more. I mean, that's pretty lame. That's like not printing out the thing or writing in any of the worksheets that I'm doing. But get like more specific. Like, I want my child to sleep 11 hours a night, which is a really good goal for most kids. What do you want? Let's think about it. And then after you think about it, how would that change your life? Like, really imagine it. If you could put your child into the crib at night and walk out the door while they were awake, and they would fall asleep and sleep for 11 hours and then wake up in the morning refreshed and ready to go, what would that look like for your life? Then that brings us to tomorrow. So tomorrow's day 2. I'm going to talk about the sleep environment, which I think is a really great thing. Everybody can make a couple little changes to the environment. Super simple to do, but also just such a good foundation for sleep. So I'm really looking forward to it.